Please don't fire Mommy." The little girl whispered to the CEO, and Christmas changed everything. Snow drifted quietly over New York City, settling in thin layers along the sidewalks. Christmas lights blinked in store windows. People hurried past each other with gloved hands and lowered heads. But 4 stories above, in a cold apartment without heat, a young woman moved with urgency. Amanda Dawson, 27, tied her honey blonde hair back and zipped her thin coat. She glanced toward the couch, where her 4-year-old daughter lay curled under a worn blanket. "Ellie," she said softly, "time to go." The little girl stirred, cheeks flushed with fever. She wore a soft pink dress with white bows at the cuffs, her favorite, reserved for special days. Amanda wrapped a scarf around Ellie's neck and gently picked her up. "Just the clinic, then we'll rest," she promised. Amanda worked as a temporary line worker at Everfresh Meals, a frozen food company in Queens. Her job, packing boxes in the cold room, was grueling. Her contract was ending soon, and her supervisor had little patience for personal emergencies. Amanda was barely holding on. At the clinic, the doctor frowned after examining Ellie. "High fever, likely viral. She needs fluids and rest." Amanda nodded. Outside, she took out her phone to notify the factory. Before she could dial, it rang. "Miss Dawson," a flat voice said, "Mr. Nicholas Reed, our CEO, wants to meet with you. Today, 1 o'clock, 11th floor." Amanda's heart dropped. "Today? Yes, be on time." She stared at Ellie. No sitter, no family nearby, no time. An hour later, Amanda arrived at Everfresh's headquarters with Ellie. The receptionist looked but said nothing. On the 10th floor, Amanda guided Ellie to a cushioned bench outside the CEO's office. "Sit here, sweetheart," Amanda said. "Do not move. Mommy will be just 5 minutes." Ellie nodded and hugged her teddy bear. Amanda smoothed her daughter's dress and turned away, her hands trembling. She waited outside the office, stomach in knots. Were they going to fire her? Would they mention her absences? Desperate, she slipped into the restroom and called a college friend. "Could I borrow? Just a little? Until next month?" she whispered. A pause, then a no. Amanda ended the call, pressed the phone to her chest, and closed her eyes. Silent tears slid down her cheeks. She wiped them away and returned to her seat. But Ellie had seen. From across the hallway, the little girl had watched her mother cry, and though she could not understand everything, she understood enough. She had seen her mother go hungry so she could eat, stay up late, walk to work in the snow. If her mother lost her job, Christmas would vanish too. Ellie looked at the big office door. Gold letters spelled out, "Nicholas Reed, CEO." She slipped quietly off the bench, clutched her teddy bear, straightened her dress, and walked across the hall. No one noticed the small child approach the door. She knocked. Inside, Nicholas Reed was reviewing sales projections. "Come in," he said absently. He glanced up and froze. A child stood in the doorway. Pink dress, tangled curls, red cheeks. She clutched a bear and stared straight at him. "Please don't fire my mommy," she said softly. "She's the best. She works hard. She even skipped dinner last night so I could have chicken soup." The room fell silent. Nicholas stood slowly, unsure how to respond. At that moment, Amanda rushed in. Her face was pale. "Ellie." But Nicholas had already stepped around the desk. He knelt, eye level with the little girl. "What's your name, little one?" he asked gently. Ellie hesitated, then answered quietly, "Ellie." Nicholas gave a small smile. "That's a beautiful name." Nicholas blinked, still kneeling before the little girl who had just walked into his office and shattered the rhythm of his tightly controlled world. Her voice, soft but unwavering, echoed in his mind. "Please don't fire my mommy." He had faced angry shareholders, press scandals, and international negotiations. But this child in a pink dress with trembling lips and hopeful eyes, left him speechless. He cleared his throat. "Ellie, is it?" She nodded. "Yes." Amanda stood frozen by the doorway, flushed and breathless, clearly mortified. "I'm so sorry. She must have wandered in." "I will." Nicholas raised a hand without looking away from the child. "Let her speak." Amanda hesitated, torn between discipline and disbelief, then stepped back slowly. Ellie hugged her teddy tighter and took another step toward Nicholas. "Mommy is always tired," she said, eyes still on his, "but she smiles for me." Nicholas didn't move. The girl's words were strikingly clear for someone her age. "She says if she loses her job," Ellie added, her voice catching just slightly, "we can't have Christmas." Something in Nicholas's chest shifted. It was not dramatic, not a thunderclap, just a quiet pull, the kind you don't expect until it's too close to ignore. He inhaled slowly, standing up now but still looking at the girl like she had just opened a door he had long since locked. Amanda, standing nearby, whispered, "Ellie, sweetie, let's not." But Ellie had already reached into her little backpack. She pulled out a crumpled piece of folded paper, edges torn and smudged with crayon. She held it out to Nicholas with both hands. "I made this." He took it gently, unfolding the drawing. It was childlike, of course, uneven stick figures, big heads, exaggerated eyes, but it told a story far more grown-up than any child should have to tell. "This is Mommy," Ellie explained. "She's working." The drawing showed Amanda at a table with a laptop, scribbled lines around her head, maybe hair, or maybe a mess of stress. Across the room, behind thick black lines that looked like a wall, or maybe just space, sat a small figure, Ellie, on the floor, clutching a toy, surrounded by gray shading. "And that's me," she said quietly. "I wait for her. A lot." Nicholas swallowed. His eyes lingered on the drawing, longer than he intended. There was something haunting about the isolation of the tiny figure in the corner, and something deeply human in the way the child had drawn her mother, eyes big and tired, hands reaching for keys on a laptop, and a small heart on her chest. He looked up. Amanda's face was flushed with embarrassment, but there was a quiet dignity in how she held herself. She didn't offer excuses. She just stood there, letting the drawing speak for her. Nicholas broke the silence. "Why do you bring her to work?" Amanda's jaw tightened a little, but her voice was steady. "I don't, usually. Today was an emergency. I couldn't find a sitter on such short notice. I have no family here." Nicholas nodded slowly, but his eyes were still on the drawing. Amanda added, "I do not have the money to hire a regular babysitter, but I've never been late. Not once." There was no bitterness in her tone. No apology. Just facts, spoken by someone who had no time for anything else. Nicholas folded the drawing with care, far more gently than he had unfolded it, and placed it on the edge of his desk. He looked at Ellie again. "You love your mommy very much." Ellie beamed. "She's my favorite person." A corner of Nicholas's mouth lifted slightly. Not a full smile, not yet, but something warmer than anything his staff had seen in years. "Thank you for sharing this with me," he said softly. "Both of you." Amanda exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath since the moment they walked into the building. Nicholas turned to his assistant, who stood at a distance, silent and wide-eyed. "Clear my next hour." Then, to Amanda, he said, "Let's talk." The room had settled into a fragile kind of quiet. Amanda sat across from Nicholas now, Ellie safely in the care of a kind receptionist who offered her warm apple juice and crayons. For the first time that day, Amanda was still, but her hands remained folded tightly in her lap, her knuckles pale. Nicholas leaned back in his chair, a man known for his calculated calm, yet visibly stirred. In front of him lay Amanda's personnel file, thinner than most. No glossy recommendations. No high-level credentials. Just a short resume typed neatly, and a few pages of basic employment history. He tapped the folder lightly. "Tell me something, Amanda," he said, voice low but steady. "What did you study before this?" She looked up, surprised by the question. "Food business management," with a focus on product marketing. Nicholas raised an eyebrow. Not exactly the background for factory line work. Amanda's smile was faint. It wasn't the plan. He waited. She took a slow breath, choosing her words carefully. I got into state college on a scholarship, full ride. I was doing well. I had a mentor, internship options lined up, one of them with a baby food company actually. Her eyes flickered. But during my second year, I found out I was pregnant. Nicholas's expression didn't change, but he didn't look away. I was engaged. We thought we had it figured out, she continued, voice steady but soft. But when I told him, he disappeared, changed his number. His family blocked me. My parents said I had shamed them, told me to fix it or leave. Nicholas's brow furrowed slightly. I chose to leave, Amanda said simply. I couldn't finish school. I worked at a diner during the day and cleaned offices at night. I learned to stretch $15 into 5 meals. I memorized grocery prices and coupon cycles, but I kept reading. I kept learning. He tilted his head. Learning? She nodded. Every product label, every shelf design in every supermarket. I still follow market trends. I study customer behavior when I stand in checkout lines. I keep a notebook of ideas, just in case. Nicholas looked down at her resume again. Basic work history. Waitress, delivery assistant, housekeeping, inventory temp, all short-term, all survival-based. But as he turned the final page, something caught his eye. A short note at the bottom, handwritten in clean, careful script. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just asking for a real chance. He stared at the words for a long moment. There was no plea in them, no bitterness, no drama, just clarity. Amanda hadn't packaged herself as a victim. She wasn't trying to impress him. She was simply stating the truth and hoping someone might see beyond the paperwork. He glanced up again, his eyes sharper now. He saw it clearly. A woman who had lost everything and still stood tall. Someone who had every reason to, quit but refused to. Someone who never stopped trying to be better, even when no one was watching. You never gave up, he said quietly. Amanda looked down at her hands. I didn't have the luxury. Nicholas nodded once, slowly. The silence stretched again. Not awkward this time, but heavy with something real. He closed the folder carefully and set it aside. There was no dramatic gesture, no speech. Just a shift in his gaze, a flicker of respect that hadn't been there before. And in that moment, Nicholas Reed, CEO, strategist, skeptic, saw not just a struggling single mother, but a woman with raw, unpolished potential, a fighter, a thinker, someone who belonged in a room where ideas mattered, not just in the back where boxes were sealed. He didn't say it aloud yet, but something inside him changed, something permanent. Nicholas sat alone in his office long after Amanda and her daughter had gone. The city buzzed beyond the tall windows, but inside all was still. Amanda's file lay open on his desk. His eyes were fixed not on her resume, but on a single handwritten line at the bottom of the page. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just asking for a real chance. He closed the folder carefully, as though it might break. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Charlotte, his assistant, peeked in. Everything all right, Mr. Reed? Nicholas didn't look up. How many workers in packaging have submitted improvement suggestions in the past 6 months? Charlotte blinked. Suggestions? Maybe 3 or 4. And how many were actually used? She hesitated. 1 or 2 small ones, none credited. And Amanda Dawson? She checked her tablet. She sent in 5. 3 were used by the floor manager, no record of her name. Nicholas leaned back, thoughtful. Draft a temporary transfer. Product development. Entry-level assistant. 2-week trial. Charlotte stared. You're transferring her? He nodded once. His eyes rested briefly on the folded drawing Ellie had left behind. Crayon lines, stick figures. A moment he could not forget. No, he said softly. I'm giving her what she asked for. The next morning, Amanda entered the factory break room, ready to clock in. A woman from HR was waiting near the time clock. Miss Dawson, you've been reassigned. Starting today, please report to product development. 10th floor. Amanda froze. There must be a mistake. I work in packaging. No mistake, the woman replied. CEO's directive. Amanda's breath caught. Nicholas Reed? The woman gave a small smile and nodded. Amanda clutched her purse strap tighter. Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She didn't remember entering the elevator. But as the doors slid shut, tears filled her eyes. She had not been dismissed. She had been chosen. That evening, Amanda and Ellie trudged up the apartment stairs, boots soaked with slush. Ellie leaned against her, half asleep. As they reached their door, Amanda stopped. A box sat waiting on the mat, wrapped in brown paper and twine. On top was a white envelope. To Ellie, it read. Amanda opened it slowly. Inside was a soft teddy bear, wearing a tiny business suit. Ellie gasped. "Mommy, he looks like the man from the office." Amanda pulled out a note, written in blue ink. To the bravest little girl I've ever met. Below it was a grocery store gift card, 2 weeks' worth of food. Ellie hugged the bear, spinning in circles. Amanda lowered herself onto the couch, holding the card in both hands. Her throat tightened. No one had ever done something like this for them. Not with pity, but with kindness, with intention. Later that night, after Ellie had drifted off, Amanda sat by the window. Snow fell again, soft and steady. She held the bear in her lap and looked out at the lights below. "For the first time in years," she whispered, "I do not feel invisible." She turned to where Ellie slept, curled around the tiny suited bear. And in that quiet December night, Amanda allowed herself something rare. Hope. Amanda stepped into the 10th floor office, her heart thudding in her chest. Everything here felt different. The bright windows, sleek desks, and walls lined with product sketches and nutrition charts. The space smelled faintly of coffee and ink. People moved with ease and confidence, speaking in a language Amanda hadn't heard since college. She lingered by the entrance, unsure where to go. A junior manager finally approached and handed her a binder. "This covers the current product cycle. You'll be shadowing the team, developing the kids' meals." The woman gave a polite smile and turned back to her screen. Amanda felt like an outsider who had wandered into the wrong room. But she stayed. That night, after Ellie fell asleep, Amanda opened her old laptop and dug out a binder of food science notes she had printed years ago. She scribbled pages of notes in a second-hand notebook with smudged corners and coffee stains. She watched tutorials on child nutrition and branding, pushing through the fatigue with quiet determination. At work, she listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and filled 2 full notebooks by the end of the week. Nicholas didn't speak to her, but he noticed. He checked in with Charlotte, asking for quiet updates. Not just about Amanda's work, but how she fit in. "She's green," Charlotte said once, "but she listens like she's starving to grow. She doesn't pretend to know things. She asks because she wants to learn." In the second week, Amanda was invited to a team strategy meeting. She had drafted a proposal for a toddler meal, smaller portions, softer texture, less sodium, based on meals she had created for Ellie. When discussion opened, Amanda raised her hand and shared it, hesitating only slightly. Some team members looked skeptical. A nutritionist commented, "There's no formal testing, no clear demand." Amanda opened her mouth to reply, but Nicholas spoke first. "If a single mother can feed her daughter on $4 a day while keeping it nutritious and appealing," he said, "maybe we should let her finish." The room quieted. Amanda nodded, took a breath, and continued. She didn't cry, but she walked out of that meeting knowing someone had given her voice space to matter. She felt it again in the days that followed. When Ellie woke with a low fever, Amanda sent a message requesting to reschedule a small task. Minutes later, Nicholas's message came. "Family first, always. We'll manage the project later." On another day, after skipping lunch to finish a presentation, Nicholas's assistant quietly left a sandwich and a cup of ginger tea beside her laptop, Amanda's favorite, which she had once mentioned in passing. No one said anything, but Amanda paused, took a sip, and let the warmth settle in her chest. At first, coworkers whispered behind her back, She has a connection upstairs. This must be some special favor. But soon, perceptions shifted. Amanda stayed late. She asked how she could help. When a junior designer's file crashed at 11 p.m., Amanda stayed behind and rebuilt it with her. One evening, as she packed up, the designer turned to her and said, "I've never seen anyone learn this fast and still help the rest of us." Amanda smiled. "I'm just grateful to be here." Then, one quiet Thursday, Amanda got home and opened her purse. Inside was a box of chamomile tea and a folded note in blue ink. "You're doing better than you think. N.R." She held the note for a long time, tracing each letter with her thumb. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirtation. It was respect, recognition, and for Amanda Dawson, it was the first time being seen didn't come with judgment. Exactly 1 week before the product's national launch, Amanda was reviewing her presentation when her phone buzzed. A news alert flashed across the screen. Breaking. Everfresh Meals product linked to infant illness. Her stomach dropped. The article was already spreading across social media. A photo of their toddler meal, Everfresh branding front and center, sat beneath a bold caption. "Unsafe for children? One mother speaks out." The post claimed a mother in Queens said her baby vomited and developed a rash after eating the new product Amanda had helped design. Screenshots from a private parenting forum echoed similar concerns. By noon, hashtags like #UnsafeMeals and #EverFreshFail were trending. At the office, tension filled the air. Employees whispered in corners. Screens showed news clips. The marketing team looked frantic. Nicholas called an emergency meeting. Amanda sat at the far end of the table, heart pounding. Nicholas entered, face unreadable. "We're not here to panic," he said. "We're here to find the truth. Amanda, walk us through the process." Amanda kept her voice steady. "The formula was tested and passed all safety checks. We used USDA-approved ingredients, and QA cleared the batches in question." A manager asked, "But what if it's a regional contamination? We piloted locally, right?" "I checked with QA," Amanda replied. "No flagged batches, no packaging errors." Nicholas remained silent, arms folded, listening. He didn't defend her, not once. After the meeting, Amanda hesitated at the door. Nicholas looked up. She turned back, hoping for reassurance. Instead, he stepped forward. "Tell me the truth. Could this be a mistake on your part?" The question hit her like ice water. "You think I'd risk children's safety?" she said, barely above a whisper. "After everything?" "I have to ask," Nicholas said quietly. "This affects the board, our investors." Amanda stepped back. "I see. After all this, you still think I could have done this." He didn't answer. She left without another word, tears stinging her eyes, not from fear, but from betrayal. After that, everything shifted. No more quiet messages, no more ginger tea, only emails, always through assistants. Amanda didn't reach out, and Nicholas didn't try. She didn't quit, but she stopped smiling at her desk. She did her work and went home. The spark was gone. Outside, rumors grew louder. Media ran follow-ups. The company's stock dipped. Amanda was formally suspended, pending clarification of claims. The memo was careful. No discipline, just reassignment. She could have walked away, but she didn't. Instead, she got to work. Amanda gathered data. She redesigned customer feedback forms and printed dozens. She started knocking on doors in neighborhoods that had stocked the product. Wearing borrowed shoes and a hand-me-down raincoat, she stood at subway exits with clipboards, waited outside daycares and laundromats, and asked strangers for a moment of their time. Most people ignored her. Some asked her to leave. Others gave her a chance. One woman asked, "Why are you doing this? Doesn't your company have PR people?" Amanda answered, "They do, but I need to know for myself." One rainy afternoon, a gated community guard refused to let her in. She waited outside in the drizzle, holding her clipboard, until a mother from inside recognized her from the news and quietly waved her through. That night, Amanda arrived home soaked, shoes squishing with each step. Her hands were blistered from carrying forms. Her feet ached. But she had 20 completed surveys. 19 were positive. Amanda collapsed onto her couch, exhausted. But beneath the weariness, something else stirred. Not rage, not despair, conviction. She would prove her innocence, even if no one believed her, even if she had to do it alone. Rain poured over Brooklyn in cold, heavy sheets. Umbrellas scattered across crosswalks, but Amanda had none. Her coat was soaked, flyers limp in her hands. Hair plastered to her cheeks, she approached a woman with a stroller, raising her voice over the roar of tires. "Ma'am, would you be willing to fill out a short survey? Just a minute." The woman didn't stop. Amanda's breath came in cold gasps, her fingers ached from the chill. She looked at the last few damp flyers in her bag. Just as she stepped off the curb to try again, a horn blared. A motorcycle shot toward her, fast and reckless. She froze. Suddenly, someone grabbed her arm and pulled her back hard. She fell against a body, both of them hitting the sidewalk. Flyers flew across the wet pavement. Amanda gasped, heart pounding, rain in her eyes. Nicholas, soaked through, his coat heavy with water, he didn't speak. He helped her up, opened a compact umbrella, and held it over both of them. "What? What are you doing here?" she managed to say. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he picked up what flyers he could, pulled a few dry ones from her bag, and stood beside her. Then he turned to a passerby. "Hi," he said. "We're collecting feedback on a children's food product. Just a quick survey?" Amanda stared at him, speechless. Then she smiled. Small, uncertain, but real. They worked together in silence as the storm faded. When the crowds thinned, they found shelter beneath a closed bookstore's awning. Amanda huddled inside her coat. Nicholas stood close, a plastic bag of ruined flyers at his feet. "I should have told you sooner," he said quietly. "I started an investigation the day the complaint came in." Amanda looked up, startled. "The woman who made the claim," he continued, "was a former marketing staffer for a competitor. She was paid to fabricate everything. The rash was photoshopped. The baby never even ate our product." Her lips parted. "You're serious?" "I have the proof. Legal's already preparing the release." She leaned back against the brick wall. The relief was staggering, but there was pain too. "You asked me," she said softly, "if I had done it." He looked at her, face full of regret. "I know," he said, "and I was wrong. I didn't doubt you. I doubted whether I had the strength to defend you if this spiraled. I thought keeping my distance would protect us both, but it only hurt you." She looked down, rain dripping from her lashes. Nicholas stepped closer. "I asked the wrong question." He hesitated. "I should have asked, do you want me to stand with you?" Amanda looked up. Everything she'd carried, fear, hurt, resilience, was there in her eyes, but so was something gentler, hope. Nicholas didn't touch her. He didn't have to. His voice was steady, quiet. "From now on," he said, "I won't let anyone put a question mark after the word trust again." The street bustled around them, traffic, people, puddles reflecting headlights. But in that space, there was silence, understanding, no confessions, no drama, but it was a love story just the same. The next morning, headlines filled the business world. Everfresh clears controversy. CEO and developer reveal fabricated complaint. Photos of Amanda in the rain, clipboard in hand, soaked but determined, flooded social media. Her story resonated, her strength inspired, her quiet dignity moved millions. People started calling her the honest girl in the pink raincoat. And somewhere over the city, the clouds finally began to part. 1 year later, winter returned to New York City with its familiar hush of falling snow and glowing lights strung across buildings. Inside the headquarters of Everfresh Meals, warmth buzzed with celebration. Amanda Dawson now sat behind the desk of her new office. The title on the door read, Director of Family Product Innovation. It was a modest space, no fancy decor, no designer furniture, but on the wall behind her hung a simple wooden frame containing a crayon drawing. It showed a woman at a desk, a little girl beside her, and a small bear with a bow tie. Ellie's signature scrawled in purple said, Mommy at work, I help. Amanda smiled at it every morning. She had worked tirelessly over the past year, launching a new line of healthy, affordable meals for families, built from both data and heart. Her journey had gone from factory floor to executive leadership, and it was no miracle. It was earned, inch by inch. Across the hallway, laughter echoed from Nicholas Reed's office. There, at a small desk, tucked into the corner, sat Ellie, now 5 years old, with a pair of pink plastic glasses perched on her nose and a clipboard in hand. She scribbled in serious concentration, while Nicholas, in a crisp gray suit, typed beside her. She called him Bossman, sometimes my protector. Everyone in the company knew their story by now. It wasn't whispered gossip, it was quiet admiration. Not a workplace romance, but something deeper. A bond born not from flirtation, but from fire, trust, and the tiny hands of a brave little girl in a pink dress. No one questioned it. That night, the company gathered for its annual Christmas gala. The event space sparkled with golden lights and garlands, a grand tree at the center of the room glowing with ornaments crafted by employees' children. Amanda stepped in, wearing a deep red velvet dress, her hair soft around her shoulders. Ellie, in a fluffy pink gown and sparkly shoes, danced excitedly near the tree. Nicholas arrived moments later, greeting people briefly before making his way across the room to join them. He didn't need to say a word. When Amanda looked up and their eyes met, it was enough. As music swelled and the room quieted, Nicholas stepped onto the stage with a glass in hand. He looked out across the faces of his team, his company, and then down at Amanda and Ellie. 1 year ago, he began, I didn't believe in much beyond spreadsheets and deadlines. I believed in structure, logic, control. He paused, then smiled. But then a little girl in a pink dress walked into my office and asked me not to fire her mother. Laughter rippled gently through the crowd. That girl changed everything. And her mother. She reminded me what resilience looks like. She showed me that trust isn't a metric, it's a choice. Nicholas raised his glass. To trust. And to people who never give up. The room erupted in applause. Amanda blinked back emotion. Ellie clapped loudly beside her, not quite understanding the weight of the words, but knowing something special had just happened. Later, as the party wound down and the snow fell softly outside, Amanda, Nicholas, and Ellie walked out together beneath the twinkling canopy of Christmas lights. Ellie held both their hands, skipping slightly between them. She looked up and asked in her small, hopeful voice, Mommy, do we have a family now? Amanda glanced at Nicholas. He looked down, his expression tender, then leaned in and whispered, We always did. We just needed to find it. And with that, the three of them continued down the snowy street, framed in warm light, wrapped in something stronger than chance. Something called home. Thank you for watching this heartwarming journey of love, resilience, and hope. If Amanda, Ellie, and Nicholas's story moved you, inspired you, or simply made your day a little brighter, don't forget to support us. Hit that hype button and subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories for more emotional tales that heal the soul and touch the heart. Every like, every share, every subscriber helps us continue bringing powerful, meaningful stories to life. Join our community, where stories matter and hearts connect. See you in the next video. Until then, keep believing in love, kindness, and second chances.